Welcome back to another episode of the Building HVAC Science Podcast, where it's our goal to create better, more knowledgeable HVAC and building performance technicians by helping the two professions better understand each other, work together, with the ultimate goal of making customers happy in the homes they live in and the buildings they work in. I've worked in the HVACR and building performance markets for over 30 years, and I've noticed the need for scientifically rooted information on how to do a job more technically correct. I found that the information is either not being taught or easily accessible to those in the field, but I'm seeing a heartening trend going on right now, and that information is becoming more widely spread. And I'll credit social media is really helping people communicate and get the word out and get a lot of ideas shared. So this can help ease technicians leaving a job with doubts in their mind or a bad feeling what could go wrong because of something they missed because they're learning off of others. So speaking of learning off of others, this episode is really a compilation of about 4 or 5 different events that I've taken part in the last couple months. And I wanted to share with you so you can get a perspective on what I've been encountering and perhaps learn from it or ponder some of the thoughts that I'm sharing here. So without further ado, here I am talking about stuff I want to talk about. Haven't done one of these monologue episodes in almost 2 months now, but had some interesting things to share over the past few weeks of my travels. One thing, I'm involved with a local university, and I'm a coach to students who are in an MBA program for their consulting field projects. The gentleman that started the program, Bud Smith, started it was over 20 years ago, about 20 years ago, and he is well beyond typical retirement age, but he shared some gems of wisdom in his farewell speech that he gave to the students in this consulting field project class. And they're just 4 simple points. Lots of things have changed in his lifetime, in business especially, but he distilled it down to 4 points that he believes have not changed. And one is the formation of good relationships, personal relationships, talking with people in business, getting to know each other. Second one is the role of truth or credibility in what you present in your business concepts. And then a third one is luck. And the way he defined it is pretty interesting. It aligns with the way I think about it and actually stuck with me since that event where he spoke. It's driven by preparedness where you can easily see opportunity. That's one of his definitions of how luck comes through in the work that he does. And then the ability to wrestle with, to reconcile tough decisions, things like moving physically, you or your family having to move, making personal guarantees and then standing up to those guarantees that you make, personal, I guess, and business guarantees, and also having to terminate people, firing them, letting them go. He also added a couple of extra tidbits to this speech. Seek an advisor you can trust that will help impart confidence in the steps you take, or perhaps speed up or maybe even slow down or stop things that you shouldn't do. And then in sort of his next phase, become a trusted advisor. Do those kind of things where you help someone else, impart them confidence, help them speed up, slow down, or stop what they're doing. So sort of in this vein, another set of 4 points, maybe the 4 points is the latest thing lately, is in the NCI, National Comfort Institute, had their annual summit. TrueTech Tools was pleased to be there, myself and Eric Preston. We got to go to that event to see all the members that were there, to hear the presentations, to engage. And that's especially because TrueTech is now the preferred vendor for equipment purchases, for test and measurement equipment from NCI. So we're tightly engaged with them. And another big change, they talked about a lot of big changes. I do want to get Dominic on the episode, Dominic Garino, to talk about all the things that are going on, tremendous amount of changes. One of the changes was the partnership with MeasureQuick as well as with TEC. And I'll focus on the TEC one because I was proud to join Steve Rogers, Jim Bergman, and several other NCI contractor members on a panel discussion about the future of HVAC. And I really like the way Steve Rogers put forth the idea of what's important to keep in mind for the work that HVAC contractors do, building performance contractors. And one is safety, and that's combating poor indoor air quality and perhaps even poisonous situations like CO issues. The factor of durability, I don't know if he said it or something I just thought of at the moment, was you're destroying the container that you're trying to put this expensive air or this comfort or environment into. And if you do things that impact the durability, you're doing a disservice. This is sort of his loading order. Then comfort, which would be temperature, humidity, noise, even wind or vibration. All those things can affect human comfort. And then the fourth thing in the loading order was energy efficiency or cost. So Steve's loading order for importance is safety, durability, comfort, energy efficiency, or cost. I really liked what I heard there. A lot of other great things, like I said, like to get Dominic on the podcast to talk about the NCI Summit. I'm working with a startup called Duckling. You'd find it at getduckling.com. And what we're proposing to do, and this is an outside activity to True Tech Tools, but is to help contractors do more total home performance and to cater to any of their customers' needs in terms of electrification. I've been getting asked that question a lot and actually be doing some presentations later this week with a group of people to talk about electrification trends in HVAC. And this all stems from the symposium, the fourth annual symposium there that Brian held back in January at Kalos, where we did an electrification panel. So some of that and all the new trends going on there. One of the things Duckling is doing is the process is to work with design partners. We've identified 5 design partners now. And if anybody listening to this is interested, and you can take a look at getduckling.com. And if something there triggers that you might be interested in signing up to be one of the early customers, you can just click the link there or send me an email at bill@truetechtools.com and I'll get you on the list to take a look at the product once it's ready. We're working with 5 design partners right now, and I got a chance to actually go out for 4 days to do some shadowing visits to see the processes that are being used by contractors. And I would say really just to address the total needs, the comfort needs, the durability needs, the safety needs, the energy efficiency needs, going back to Steve Rogers' 4 points, for their homes, for their houses, and to see how contractors are managing this and trying to do the best they can with thorough, accurate information. So I got a chance to really witness that, which is different from a lot of the work I've done up to now, which has been more the technical side of HVAC. And this was the business and process side. So this is really intriguing for me. And I hope to continue to report on this to you to let you know how things are going on this regard. One of the other things that happened was striking for me was to read a post just today. It came out by someone who actually attended the NCI conference in really the summer, I should say, and really had his mind changed or reinforced. And I'm going to borrow from a public post that he made, and I'm not going to say his name at this point, but I just want to cover some of the intriguing points he mentions. Up to now, my goal has always been the restoration of service, just getting people's equipment just working again. And I had a huge misconception about people who looked too deep in the industry. But once he got to mingle with the people who look deeply into the industry, he met a number of amazing people, and it caused a shift in his thinking. So he's no longer going about troubleshooting the equipment and thinking, I'm a hero because I've solved the equipment problem. But now I want to look at educating my team to be able to serve the customer, to make it customer focused. And that's something we've also determined from the Duckling standpoint. So I guess all these points are stirring together in my mind about Duckling, the visits we made with contractors, some of the comments Steve Rogers made in the NCI Summit, and as well as Bud Smith's farewell speech, where he talks about becoming a trusted advisor. So I'm just going to leave that all there with you in this quick little podcast and see what you think about it. You can always reach me at bill@truetechtools.com. Thanks for listening in. Thanks again for listening to this short episode of the Building HVAC Science podcast. Hope you liked what you heard. If you want to get back in touch with me, bill@truetechtools.com. That's true without an E. And that's because TRUTECHTOOLS, that's 3, 4, 5. I just noticed the other day, it's like a right triangle, the Pythagorean theorem. Anyway, that's the way I think sometimes. There's other great trade-related resources out there that may not be as silly as I am. And those people include Brian Orr in the HVAC School, HVACrschool.com, HVAC Shop Talk, Stephen Reardon, HVAC Reefer Guy, Tool Pros, Service Business Mastery, Quality HVAC, HVAC Overtime, HVACR Videos, Chris Stevens, who was a guest on the podcast just a couple weeks ago, HomeDiagnosis.tv, Grayson Corbett Lunsford, AC Service Tech, Mr. Craig Migliaccio, who was also on the podcast a while ago, and Measure Quick. If I ever had Jim on the podcast, I'm going to have to work on that. Jim is Mr. Measure Quick, measurequick.com. Okay, thank you for listening to this episode, and I would invite you to communicate back to us or follow us on Facebook, either True Tech Tools page or the Building HVAC Science podcast page. In full disclosure, I'm a co-owner of True Tech Tools, and the opinions voiced are those of my guest or myself, and in the case of this episode, the same person. And I'll just stop talking right now because this is starting to get really silly and unwind. Anyway, have a great day. Thank you for listening to the Building HVAC Science podcast. Take care.